Morning and welcome back. I'm out here in the woods again, and this week there's a couple of things that I want to do. Firstly, I want to have a go at making a raised bed, more for practice than anything else really, but I probably will leave it set up out here in the woods, simply because I'm planning on coming back here in a couple of weeks' time, and it would be nice if it was still set up so I could use it then. And the second thing is I want to have a go at a new tarp shelter setup. I've also brought some breakfast with me, so once I've got those things done, I'm going to light a small fire and cook up some steak and eggs for breakfast. Okay, I've cut one pole. I measured it out against my height and added a bit. I've cut this one to use as a template, so I'll use this to measure out the other poles, and then I'll cut them before I take them back to where I'm going to set up. So I'm quite lucky really. In this bit of woodland there are loads of down trees. We've had a lot of wind lately, which has blown trees down, so there are freshly down trees. There are also trees that have been down for some time but haven't started to rot yet, so they're going to be plenty strong enough for what I need. But I'm certainly not going to be cutting any trees down. Well, I really like this setup. It's a perfect sort of solo use setup, kind of lone wolf style. I got the idea from Az from Bush Pirate. He's a German bushcrafter and YouTuber. His channel's called Bush Pirate, and loads of really good content. Awesome stuff. If you get a chance, check it out. There's loads of room in here, as you can see. But you can see behind me there's a huge area here, a massive triangle for storing your gear. For storing firewood would be perfect, you know. You could put a tarp down in that area there and have a little area. You know, if I was out camping with Maggie, for example, she could sleep in that area there. It's got a really huge overhanging porch area in front of the shelter. It would have to be really hard driving rain to get me, to be honest. Unless it was maybe coming in at the sides, I might get a little bit here, but it really does offer loads of protection. I like it. You could also have a fire in this area. and the overhang of the shelter would protect the fire from the rain. Airplanes. It always seems to be gunfire or airplanes in the background of my videos. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, as I was saying, you could have your fire in this area. What Az does in his video is he has his fire set up beneath the A-frame, which is holding the front triangle of the shelter up, and that way he can use the frame to support his pot hanger. So he has his fire directly underneath it. It offers some shelter, some protection for his fire, and he can also use it for hanging his pot off, which I thought was a really clever idea. But yeah, it's good. I like it. Okay, I'm going to get a fire lit so I can have some breakfast. I'm really hungry. I don't normally like to have a fire in coniferous woodland just because of the root system and all the pine needles and stuff all over the floor. But I've dug down about 3 inches and come to sand. I've then dug down another 4 inches into the sand and just cleared roots from this area here and then packed all the sand back in. So I'm fairly satisfied that fire isn't going to spread down and affect the roots underground. I'm going to be here for a couple of hours anyway after I've eaten, so I can make sure that it's well and truly out before I go. Right, let's get it lit. So I've got steak and eggs for breakfast. The steak I'm going to cook in the embers at the end, just straight in the embers, and the eggs I'm going to steam in the little insert that goes in my zebra billy. So I'll bring some water up to the boil for a cup of tea and steam the eggs at the same time. The eggs I've brought in this new box egg transporter that I have. A subscriber of mine, a chap called Ewan, has very kindly made this and sent it to me to try out. It's 3D printed. He has a 3D printer. He sort of 3D prints various bits and pieces as a hobby, and he's been making a run of these egg containers. So there's a kind of like a cradle which holds 4 eggs, and then it's held shut with these rare earth magnets. Quite a neat system, and obviously that will just stop your eggs from breaking when you transport them to camp. I really like it. It's cool, and the inserts are glow in the dark. He says that he's tested this by loading it up with 4 eggs and dropping it from a height of 1 meter onto a hard floor, and only one of the eggs broke. So it's a pretty good test, I think. Really, you know, I haven't tested it out, although they did survive the walk into the woods today. Cheers, Ewan. Beauty, they're done. And the water's boiling. I've just leveled these out a little bit. I want them to die down so they're just white embers before I stick my steak on. But in the meantime, I've got my eggs to eat. And tea. And smoke in the eye. I was going to bring Maggie out with me today, in case you're wondering where she is, but unfortunately she's not been very well. So she's been on a sort of chicken and rice diet, and I didn't think it was very fair to bring her out and then eat steak in front of her. But yeah, she's on the mend. She's just a bit unwell. She's had a bit of diarrhea and just not quite being her normal self, just being a quiet, bit lethargic. But I think she's on the turn. I think she is getting better, so hopefully next time. Just while I wait for the fire to die down to embers, I've just put my steak on to warm. I like my steak really rare, you know, barely cooked at all, but it has to be warmed through, otherwise you just end up biting into something that's cold, and that's never nice. So I tend to warm it by the fire or near the fire for a little while beforehand, just so that it kind of like warms through, and then I can just literally just flash cook it in the embers, and it will be lovely. Well, there you go. It doesn't get much better than that for breakfast. All I did was season it with some salt and pepper, and I am so hungry. I can't wait to get stuck into this. Oh man, that is good. Do you know what? Of all the ways you can cook a steak, I don't think you can beat cooking it this way. Directly in the embers. This is only a supermarket steak. It's a ribeye. I love ribeye. It's my favourite cut of steak. I'd have ribeye over fillet any day. And yeah, it's like a 21-day aged, matured ribeye out of Morrison's. Very good it is. So this bed is surprisingly comfortable actually. It's got 7 poles, and I did try and pick the straightest poles I could. Yeah, it's good. It's sort of springy. You want something on it. I've just put my wool blanket on it for now, but you know, you could use boughs, sort of you know, evergreen boughs and bracken and things like that on top of here, just to create a soft platform onto which to sleep. But it's really good. It keeps you up off the ground, which is important. You know, you lose a lot of body heat down into the ground overnight, so you need to be up off the ground. If you haven't got a roll mat with you or a sleeping pad, you know, you need to get up off the ground, so this is ideal. And if you were in a really cold environment and you are relying on your fire to keep you warm at night, like a Swedish long fire for example, the other beauty about this sort of setup is that warmth from the fire can go underneath your bed as well, and it almost gives you sort of underfloor heating, if you like. You know, the heat can circulate around and keep you warm through the night. But yeah, it's good. I'm pleased with it. So the bed is made up of 2 logs which sit down here. They're kind of like bearers which rest on the ground. On top of that there is a longer log, this one here, which goes across, and that's held in place with these pegs which you drive down into the ground, and then you lay your the logs you actually lie on the top of that. I used 7, which was about right. You could have more if you wanted. You could make it wider. Obviously, you just have to make sure that this log here is wide enough to accommodate however wide you plan the bed on being. And that's it, basically. You can saw these off like I did. Otherwise, they're going to stick up and jab you, unless you wanted them there to hold on bedding material that you may want to put on top of this. If you were going to put insulation on top of this, or something soft, bracken or boughs or whatever you're going to, to make it comfortable, to insulate you, you might want something to hold it all in place, in which case you might want to leave them a little bit longer, and maybe even add some more just to hold it all in, stop it from sliding off as you move around in the night. But that's basically it. It's dead simple, but it creates a nice airflow underneath, keeps you off the cold, damp ground, yeah, and is springy and comfortable. Surprisingly comfortable. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope you might have found it useful. Next week I'm off on my bushcraft and survival challenge. I go on Thursday. I'm very excited. I think I'm organised. I hope I'm organised. Yeah, fingers crossed. I'll be able to get some filming done while I'm there, and the next video will be that. Take care. I'll see you soon.